of 17 drivers heading out for this first session here in qualifying 2. Of course, we've got Alessandro Giusti, got Tom Leben, Charlie Wirtz, Joshua Dufek, Sammy Megatunif, who has been impressive already this weekend. Lawrence Van Hoopen is here as well. Kirill Small on debut here in this championship. Alexander Partyshev returning as well with Victor Bernier, as well as Kaz Havercourt, who was up at the sharp end as well for Van Amersfoort. Enzo Schionti is also here with Owen Tangavelu, Nihil Bora, as well as Niels Kuhlen, who we just saw. Tim Tramnitz, who would go fastest in the earlier session, and Matthias Zagazeta as well, and with Giovanni Maschio as well, who is also lining up looking for a better session this time out. But there you can see already the cars hard at work, the teams looking to get their cars set and ready to head out onto the track. Brand new session, obviously, and as time goes on, a lot of cars have been venturing out onto this circuit. I spoke to some of the drivers earlier on in the paddock. They alluded to the fact that with the different types of rubber now layering themselves onto the circuit, it does make it pretty trepidatious when it comes to entering certain corners. Certainly the grip might be off in certain places. Takes time for drivers to sort of understand that, get used to the conditions. And then as well, we spoke to Andrea Kimi Antonelli earlier on as well in the paddock, and he alluded to the fact that the rain that had come down on the Friday evening, and it had rained overnight, it hadn't cleared up by the start of this morning, and he said it was still slippery over the curbs as well, which made it quite a dangerous approach, which might have actually obviously alluded to the fact of the incident that we had in our Group B session. But there we go. Literally, as time has gone on, we haven't had a single rain cloud here in the sky. No water on the track this time. It is a dry circuit. We have had a couple of incidents that have popped their ugly heads up earlier on this morning. We did have a Mini Cooper race earlier on. The car did end up crashing, and there was an oil spillage, which has been promptly cleared up by certainly the teams at the down track side, obviously putting sand on the circuit to try and just mop up any of the what can only be described as slick surface. And it's now enabled us to go racing yet again. That was prior to, obviously, our first session this morning. But the drivers have certainly coped with it very well indeed. Prema obviously getting prepped for when their session goes out as well. They'll be part of Group A later on. Of course, Andrea Kimi Antonelli representing them alongside Rafael Camara and Lorenzo Fluscia as well. And the Italian team will be looking to try and cause a storm this time. Andrea Kimi Antonelli getting off to the perfect start this weekend off the back of a tricky time at Imola. Spoke to him as well. It's just a case of resetting, he says. Get himself readjusted to the circuit. They've gone over the data. They're ready to tackle this session as well. And everything leads up to this first race as well this evening when we hit it at 6 p.m. local time. So make sure you tune in for that as well. More and more people filing into the grandstands as we look to go racing again this time. And of course, here at Barcelona, it's littered with so much variance in terms of corners. We have got certainly high-speed corners, slow-speed corners, some mid-range corners as well. There's something for everybody here at this track with variances in elevation as well. You make the climb heading out to reps, so you go down through the seat and then automatically up again through Verth Curve when you then venture through Campus or Campsa and then head down the hill towards the Lakea Bend, the left-hander heading out of turn 10, which has been opened up, and you can then head up towards Bank San Bedell, which is again another incline rise before you then take the slope again through the newly fashioned, or I should say it's not necessarily newly fashioned, it's basically been taken from the motorcycle style circuit that we have seen over the years, Europe car into New Holland, and you venture around turn 14 and make your way down the long straight again. It certainly does open up plenty more chances for straight line speed building, and not to mention an opportunity potentially for overtake, a great place to initiate the push to pass as well. No doubt we'll see that in show when we go racing later on as well. But we can already hear the revving of engines now, and more cars making their way out onto the circuit. They're all queuing up now as we now officially get qualifying underway. The timer is ticking down. The big question is who's going to hit the top this time. Remember, folks, this will decide the grid order for race 1 this evening, so make sure you tune in as we now see the cars make their way through. Just to say, folks, I know I haven't done so already, if you don't know who I am, my name is, of course, George Morgan. I am your commentator here this afternoon, proud to give you the coverage as well here from Barcelona. Hopefully we can have a really exciting event, hopefully a real upward, maybe a few stories as well as we make our way through qualifying. Certainly many of these drivers looking to upheave themselves after perhaps a tricky session at Imola. Some of them looking to go back-to-back, just like Tim Tramnitz has done already so far this season. And and many other Cinderella stories, the likes of Martinius Stenshorn, who of course we spoke about in our first session. Of course, couldn't quite capitalise this time in qualifying, but will no doubt be back when his group ventures out to the circuit after Group B does as well. But all the cars now heading outwards already. So the initial laps, obviously, as you would expect, there will be time set to sort of get the tyres adjusted, make sure the drivers are ready to tackle the circuit. Obviously, with a little bit of a cooling period out of the car, it does obviously take time to get yourself adjusted to it. They would, of course, have had a break since then. They would have analysed data, probably going out with a fresh perspective, maybe try something a little different when they've spoken to their teams as well. And no doubt the public will be looking forward to seeing who can come out on top on this occasion. But with now 13 minutes to go here in this session, it'll truly be up to the drivers now as to how they go about securing their positions when we go racing later. As we now see them all queuing up as they make their way around the final corners. And no less, we will expect to see some thrilling lap times, that's for sure, as we now see the cars make their way on through. And already Niels Bohrer making his way down through as well. Kirill Small out on track, not to mention Alexander Partashev as well making his way through. And there we're capturing scenes of Tim Tramnitz, who went fastest earlier on today. Back to back, should we say, in terms of qualifying. Remember, he went fastest in qualifying 2 at Imola and fastest in qualifying 1 this time at Barcelona. Can he follow it up yet again? He seems full of confidence. He's had some time in the cars as well. Was racing in the Euro Formula Open Championship recently, coming toe-to-toe with the likes of Enzo Trulli. And not to mention Noel Leone, who competed in this championship last season as well. So the cars now make their way down the straight yet again. Of course, in different colours this season, Tim Tramnitz was in the Trident team last season, partnered up with the likes of Roman Belinsky, who is back with the championship this year as well, and he's joined by Nikhil Bohrer this season as well. Not to mention with Owen Tangavelu, who's also a very vast, experienced driver when it comes to this series. Was, of course, part of G4 Racing last season, and RPM Motorsport will be seeing him as well make his way around this circuit here in Group B2. So the cars now hustle and bustle their way around now. 11 minutes and 30 still to go. The times will be coming through very shortly. We've just seen the first sectors come through now on their second runs as they look to get these tyres heated up immediately already. Around the 33.6s. We already know that they can go a lot less than that in the first sector, so don't switch off your TV sets yet, folks. It's going to get saucy. Good time if you want to get yourself settled. Refreshments on offer, no doubt, wherever you are in the world, as you're now waiting to see what times are going to be brought in now with 11 minutes still to go. As we see Alexander Partashev make his way around the final sector as well on hot pursuit, hoping to enlist a better lap than what he did in the opening stint. Neil Bohrer now going to the top with a 1:54.067. No doubt we'll be looking to bring that lap down. There's Tim Tramnitz again making his way up the hill towards Bank Sambadel. And we've then got the, should we say, the orange liveries as well making their way through, as well as Sami Megatunif, who's making his way around the track. Eventually he'll tackle the birth curve, tracking his teammates at the moment as well as they make their way up the hill. And, they'll make their way down the very speedy sector as well. There's a Van Amersfoort car as well being pursued here by the 2 MP cars. Victor Bernier, part of that contingent here in this session too. Mashkio now goes to the top with a 1:44.858, with Enzo Schianti as well in behind as well. Enzo Schianti, of course, currently sat just outside a tenth of a second, but as I said before, folks, 1:44, the current top time. Expect that to come cascading downwards as time goes on. Sit tight. It's going to get tasty towards the end. Obviously, as I alluded to, the push to pass, the inactive here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine that they can use in the race. Be very useful as well when they make their way around that final corner, deep descent, and they make their way around that next right-hander. Just caught sight of a Trident as well in the garage too. So we see a conglomerate make their way down through towards the seat curve, and it's it's almost like a seat. You almost do dip down and then head around and then through towards the birth curve. Very high variance of corners here at Barcelona. As I alluded to this morning, broke ground back on the 24th of February 1989, opening on the 10th of September 1991, with well over 140,000 capacity here that can be filled with corners amounting to 14 this time around. Of course, no longer a chicane in the final sector, new for this year, certainly when it comes to single-seaters. Of course, that will be the first time that the Formula One World Championship has it in a long time. Of course, this time around when they go racing, and I know that's going to excite the fans and spectators alike, certainly as it will do here as well, when these drivers will certainly look to enlist these overtakes. Just saw a little flick of the rear heading through back Sambadell there as well. There's the MP cutting their way around. And Sami Megatunic as well. The time's still sat at around a 1:41.665. It's currently being held by Alessandro Giusti. And Tim Tramnitz now going to the top as well, as usurped them all by a good near 2 seconds, actually 1.8. And it's a 1:41.665, taking purple in that final sector as well. Good improvements. Tell you what, another man who's improving as well is Maschio as well. Maschio is also looking to try and enlist a better time. He's already knocked off half a tenth in the first sector alone. He'll be looking to try and enlist the same again. And, try and back up an improved performance this time too. So Zagazzetta goes second fastest as well, with Giustino down to third, Maschio in fourth, with Cionti in fifth place. Nikhil Bora down in sixth as well for Trident as well. There's the cars now making their way down this very long straight. Of course, this will be one of the prime overtaking spots as well if they can get into the air and then make their way down through towards turn one and open up the door by that access route, as we now watch Sami Megatunic make his way through turns 1 and 2 through Elf Curve and the next left out of turn 2 in towards Renault, around the next right, and then they'll hit turn 4 at Repsol, of course the scene of where we lost Maschio earlier on in the session. And he'll be looking to come back again. Oh, we've lost another one. And I tell you what, again it's reared its ugly head. This time it's fallen into that of Enzo Scionti. He's now off into the gravel trap. So heartbreak for him and Monolite Racing. He's spinning the tyres. That is certainly going to be a red flag. They've called a red flag on the session. The second time, the second occasion we have had that here. Of course, this weekend at Barcelona. And this time it falls on the likes of Monolite Racing. And unfortunately for Enzo Scionti, that is not a welcome return to this circuit here for the second qualifying session this weekend. And a red flag has been called by the race director. So there we go, race control asking all the cars now to come into the pit lane while the marshals on track attend to the car that's in the gravel trap. And is now going to call for a reset here. Big shame for Scionti. Of course, a driver who is experienced, his most recent experience coming off the back of F4 UAE as well for Crown Durango. That's the team he raced for. Then he went to DriveX in the Euroformula Open Championship. And of course, being in 2021, his most recent recorded championship. And now here, this time in the Formula Regional European Championship, and not an ideal place to be here. The timer has frozen at 6 minutes and 48 seconds, so do not pay attention to that timer at the top middle of your screen, folks. We will, of course, currently be holding and freezing the time at 6 minutes and 48, so do not be confused. Obviously, the cars will make their way in, and when the session restarts, there's still a good amount of time. What I can tell you is that Tim Tramnitz, once again, holds on to the lead time. He has nestled in a 1:36.890. At least for now. And the next car behind him is Nikhil Bora as well. So Trident sat in second behind a former Trident driver, Tim Tramnitz, as well, representing this time RHGP. And a highly decorated driver as well, has huge ambitions for his future. And no doubt he is talented enough to pull those off without a shadow of a doubt. Lawrence Van Hoopen going third fastest, in fact, as well, at 1:37.245. Owen Tangavelu just behind him as well. We saw Sami Megatunic earlier on track, so we now see the marshals sprint towards the car now. They'll look to put it out. There might be a chance that if he can get the car restarted, that he can obviously make his way back down to the garage. Of course, we have got the marshals car making its way through. I mean, it's half in the gravel, so they could definitely do something with this here. They're trying to help it without the use, I think, of extra equipment, but it looks like it's for naught at this stage. So the marshals are going to have to, I think, use some different tactics to get it off the ground. And we've got some more arms to the cause here now as well, as they look to get the the car out, and look at that. Great display of strength there. Superb job there from the marshals. And that'll give Chianti a chance to get the car underway again, and there he goes. Obviously, they'll have to attend to some of the gravel that has littered itself onto the circuit. But we're here at 6 minutes and 48, obviously awaiting for the red flag conditions to turn green. And no doubt we will return to action. Still plenty of time left for those in this session to set some improvements on their current laps as well. A 1:36.890 to beat, as set by Tim Tramnitz. Has set a 38.842 in the middle sector. That's given him purple ahead of that of Kirill Small, who's actually put in a very sensible 39 as well. There is another 38 though, looking on my screen here. Lawrence Van Hoopen, who is only a fragment off in that second sector from Tim Tramnitz. And Tramnitz also enlisting a purple sector 3 as well. He is in rude health here around this Barcelona track. Credit to the marshals on a superior job as well. They did an absolutely terrific job getting the car out as quickly as they did there. And it does allow us, obviously, to make sure that we can continue this session as quickly as possible. Obviously, with 6 minutes and 48, as I said before, folks, there is still a chance that there could be some improvements here in the incoming laps. And I'd imagine that Tim Tramnitz will be looking to make use of the time that is left. There is obviously, off the back of this, potential for 3 fast runs, should the timer allow. Obviously, I'd imagine for their opening laps, they're probably going to end up trying to get the tyres back up to temperature, because it's remarkable about how much they cool while stagnant. Obviously, it's better to keep the tyres moving. The drivers would surely prefer to remain out on circuit just to keep the tyres warm, keep the temperature up, and therefore look to improve on the delta. That's what you need to do, obviously, if you want to be quick around a track such as this. And especially with such a long straight as well, you obviously want to get as better exit as you can heading through the final corner, heading out of Europe car into New Holland. And now we're hearing the roaring of engines, and the cars now make their way back out onto the circuit to restart this session. The timer has restarted here, and we're back underway for this next portion of Q2 here with Group B. And they now are led out. This Trident car there just making its way through. The MPs in behind as well. And, more and more now heading up through the next right at turn 1. Arden well represented here as well. Tom Leben, of course, a Ginetta Junior Winter Series driver, also racing Ginetta Juniors back in 2019 and 2020. And 5 times a race winner in that series. But his most notable performances have been in GB3 as well, taking 4 wins and 5 podiums in 24 appearances, with a pole position to his name as well from 2021. And is now going to look to try and enlist something a little better here, this time in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. A very exciting prospect when driving for Elite Motorsport then as well. And is here with Arden this weekend and this season as well. Let's just see more cars now very heavily bunched together as they head up through the very, very tight incline that is a first curve. Cars now drip feeding their way through. They're obviously going to be fighting for clean air as well to give themselves the best possible opportunity to enlist these fast laps. Victor Bernier we just saw in picture as well. There's Nick Ilbora making his way around in the Trident 2, being pursued by the MPs, or very tight there, heading up through Bank Sambadel. I think that's an Arden car making its way through too, side by side as they sprint up the hill. Don't actually have any framers in this particular group, but we'll be seeing all 3 of those later on. Also leads to the fact that I thought there was a framer in the gravel trap in the previous qualifying session. Apologies for that, folks, as we now see the cars make their way around the final corner of turn 14. And now, as they do so, there we see Maschio now make his way down. Maschio obviously looking to try and improve on his run. Currently sat P9 in the standings. Ahead of that is Chianti, who's of course just been rescued out of the gravel trap. Now watch the cars make their way around now. There's Tom Leben sprinting around this next right, and there we can see the MPs also trying to gain a little bit of traction and add a little bit more heat into the rubber. Heading through now towards this progressive right-hander at Repsol as well. See the championship being teed up coming into this weekend. RSGP have obviously taken the early advantage after a wonderful start, and obviously that being alluded to the results that they had across the weekend, given that Martinius Stenshorn managed to come away with a race win, not to mention the opening pole lap of the season. Obviously, it helps. A good qualifying session can certainly tee up your weekend, and Tim Travis, we hope that will be the case. I mean, could it be the case that he lands 2 successive pole positions? Obviously, the one detriment he will have on this occasion is because his group has gone first, it will allow Group A to have the hotter circuit. Obviously, the fact that they're given track time here, obviously to the first group, obviously they swap it around, obviously then that way it's fair, and both groups can obviously benefit off having essentially a generated track that is heated up and allowed the tyres to, you know, adapt to the tarmac a little bit better. As we now see them make their way down the straight again, there you see the Tridents in tandem. With Tim Tramnitz's time still to beat now, we're seeing faster times making their way through, and I can tell you that Owen Tangavellu, which just set a blistering first sector, has already knocked off 0.2 of a second in that first sector as well, and looking to try and enlist something a little more. There is time in this, folks, with 2 minutes 30 still to go. Sit tight and brace yourself now. Sami Megatunev still sat in second as well with a 1:36.979. He's within a single tenth of a second now. Tim Tramnitz also coming across the line as well, still with a 36.890 as Kaz Havercourt now goes third fastest too, so he's finding time, goes ahead of Nikhil Bora. Joshua Dufek, though, immediately takes third fastest as well. So over a tenth of a second out there, holds on to third place. Brilliant run from him as well. We now see Nikhil Bora on our screen, who has been usurped by a collective of cars, that being Kaz Havercourt and Josh Dufek. Tim Tramnitz still, though, holding on to that early advantage. Could be the case that we could yet again see 3 cars in the same tenth of a second. It's possible. We've seen it done already, and I'm sure we'll see more as time goes on through the season. And obviously these teams brandishing the Pirelli rubber around this circuit, of course, a compound and a tyre manufacturer that does, of course, supply the realm of Formula 3, Formula 2, and of course Formula 1 as well. Gives the drivers a great chance to get adept to this type of tyre compound. And the manufacturer itself as well. It's very much the breeding ground of great drivers to establish their careers. Speaking to the RSGP team earlier on, and you can allude to the fact that they brought into the world the likes of Pierre Gasly, of course, Gabriel Bortoletto doing some incredible things in Formula 3 at the moment as well, off the back of a successful season in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. So now we're seeing the cars now once again now, final minute still to go. It's still Tramnitz, who currently holds on to the top time. One more time's coming through as well. Improvements from Nikhil Bora, set to 29.8 in the first sector as well. 29.7 being set by Owen Tangavellu, who's finding a little bit of time as well. I can tell you that the best sector 1 being set by Tangavellu, Tramnitz holding on to sector 2 and Nikhil Bora holding on to sector 3. So this is far from over just yet, with the time still ticking down, 20 seconds or so to go. And I tell you what, I give a few drivers a chance here as they head through this first sector. A little flick of the rear as they make their way through the very, very fast Renault curve where you really put your foot to the floor. There, of course, we're seeing on our screen there Kaz Havercourt, who's also looking to try and launch himself higher up the order. 29.7 by Havercourt in the first sector. Looking pretty strong as well. He's being joined by the likes of 28.8 being set by, or 29.8 should I say, by Joshua Dufek. Sami Megatunev also trying to launch a fast run, 38.9 in that second sector, so it could all come down to this. Checkered flag has been brought out, the timer has ticked to 0, and already Nikhil Bora across the line, 5th fastest where he stays. Owen Tangavellu stays 6th fastest in this contingent. Victor Bernier, 8th fastest as well. He can't improve any higher than where he has enlisted. There is Joshua Dufek, you're currently seeing on your screen. He's going to head up towards the line as well very shortly. Sami Megatunev can't improve from 2nd. Joshua Dufek still in 3rd. Where's he going to be after this one? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously still plenty more to come through. I'll tell you now that more and more cars cross the line. Alessandro Giusti goes 9th fastest. Charlie Wirtz in 10. Stays there. Kirill Small 12th fastest as well. Megatunev still 2nd. Joshua Dufek still yet to usurp him. Still shows 3rd place on our timing screen. So as it stands, Tim Tramnitz is going to take P1 again. Kaz Havercourt goes 2nd fastest. Brilliant lap from Havercourt, 37 thousandths off the pace of Tim Tramnitz. Very close between the pair, and that's 3 cars now within a single tenth of a second. So Tramnitz now under checkered flag. It's a second P1 visit for Tim Tramnitz. A brilliant run indeed after a superb first qualifying session from him to go fastest in that Group B session earlier on today. He's done exactly the same in qualifying 2, and that's 2 qualifying 2s in a row that he goes fastest in as well. What a lap, certainly what a show, what a display from Tim Tramnitz here and RHGP. They are going to be absolutely thrilled with this. Kaz Havercourt, how about that last clutch lap as well? I can tell you this, folks, Tangavelu still held on to the purple first sector as well. Tramnitz taking the purple second sector. Nikhil Bora taking the sector 3 purple time as well. But Tim Tramnitz unusurped right at the top. What an incredible display from that young man. Back again and showing some grand improvements to say the least. Sami Megatunif, though, in the top 3 yet again. And certainly following on from where he was fastest in collective test 2, and we alluded that he did find more pace in that first session. Didn't go as fast though this session, because the fastest time set in collective test 2 was by Megatunif, and that was a 1:36.361. The best time here, 1:36.890. So the track definitely cooled to a certain degree as well. The drivers are unable to obviously set their best time. Obviously it could also be contributed by the red flag cooling the tyres, that time in the pit lane. That might have also contributed to that. But Tim Tramnitz taking yet another P1 here in this session. Group B getting off with a bang, and it's RHGP who hits up the top time here for this session. We've got Group A coming up next, so don't go away, folks. This, of course, deciding the grid formation for the first race this afternoon. But what an exciting ending to qualifying. It was the dire minutes, and Kaz Havercourt really gave it everything. He tried, but a 1:36.927, not enough to take P1 in this session. But what will be interesting is to see the difference between Group B and Group A. See how much that track has got hotter. How much more time can Group A get this time? And obviously they'll have the benefits of the hotter conditions. And can Andrea Kimi Antonelli do exactly what Tim Tramnitz has done? Can he go back to back in terms of P1 in his group? Let's wait and see. And obviously this will provide us with some insight as to who starts on pole, because obviously, as I said, it goes back to the average rule, where the average time in one group then decides who's pole out of the 2 top drivers in each group. So we'll have to sit tight and wait and see who that will be. But an exciting roster of drivers in this season's Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And this time we have got plenty of drivers here representing that of the Prema team as well. They are now entering this session here with Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Rafael Camara, Lorenzo Flusha as well. Some fantastic talents here on display for this weekend. And Lorenzo Flusha alone, obviously coming off the back of his first season in the championship last year, was competing with RHGP last year, in fact. So he knows that team all well and good, and appeared for them on 19 occasions last season. No wins, but did take a podium, and finishing last season 12th in the championship too, and has since gone on to appear for Mumbai Falcons, of course, being supplied by Prema in this season's Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship. And he went on to achieve 3 podiums in 15 appearances, finishing 4th in that championship too. But being joined with the likes of Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Rafael Camara, of course, Prema looking to achieve what they did last season. Obviously, Dino Boganovic representing them last season with the likes of Paul Aaron and Sebastian Montoya as well. A very hench lineup indeed that has since all gone on to tackle that of F3. And just goes to show how much this championship and how important it really is, integral to the future of so many drivers. And again, it's on show this time as well. And it looks like it's going to be the case now that Antonelli, who is, of course, a Mercedes young driver, he's part of the Mercedes young driver program, one of the up-and-coming talents that we can expect to certainly try and flourish, as well as the likes of Rafael Camara, who has done some sterling stuff in already such a young career. F4 UAE achieving 6 wins in 16 appearances with 8 podiums. It's incredible, with 4 poles to rank as well, only finishing 2nd on that occasion, but since then gone on to achieve third in the championships in both Italian F4 and ADAC F4 as well. Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship though this year, 15 appearances with 6 podiums to boot, so he is certainly not afraid to put the car where it needs to be. So I give him every chance in the world to score big in this championship this season. Kramer once again coming into this fully stocked and armed on this occasion, as we now see the cars make their way through the Verth curve. And, there we're seeing on our screens as well, that being Maya Weu, who's of course representing here this weekend, looking to get a big result as well for her proceedings too, as we now see more and more cars filter their way down through towards this next left as well. Of course, that being kind of before being Roman Belinsky back again, this time for Trident Racing. Caught up with him earlier on too. Great to see Roman back, such a character in the paddock, and has enjoyed many a successful race too. And, certainly been working on his game, of course coming from British F4 in the early days of his career last season. Certainly tried his best to deliver the best results he could for Trident, but 20 appearances and achieving a podium as well was a superb effort on his rookie year. His GB3 championship certainly gave him 18 appearances with 3 wins and 7 podiums to boot, finishing 7th in that championship. He can achieve the big results. That's exactly what he's looking for here, as we now see the cars make their way on through. There's Martinius Stenshawn, of course the man who would go on to take the first race win of this season. And he'll be looking to try and rediscover that form yet again. Can he do what his teammate Tim Tramnitz has just done? Can he rediscover that best form that he knows he has in his locker? Could it happen this time here at Barcelona, here in the second session of qualifying? What's this one, as I said, going towards the race later on this evening, could yet be decisive as well. And obviously every point counts. At the end of the day, all these drivers fighting for championships and looking to claim race wins as well. No better time to start than now, put it that way. And already we've seen the likes of Martinius Stenshawn go on to do that, as well as Kaz Havercourt, who put on an incredible closing display at the end of that last session, taking 2nd place on the order in Group B. Now Group A, now look to get started. And already now the Delta times coming through on the screen, but still early doors at the moment, folks. The cars will obviously need to get themselves sort of used to the circuit, get themselves addressed to this Barcelona track. Tyres now obviously that need to be upped in temperature. We just saw the Premers there going to work. There is the RPM Motorsport as well, making its way through. And, already now we're seeing Adam Fitzgerald cross the line. He immediately has registered the first time on the board. Part of the rookie class this season as well. First time set 143.928, but obviously we know that they will come down very sharply indeed. Has already raced this season in other series, including that of the Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship for Jars Motorsport. 9 appearances in that particular one, finishing 17th in the championship. And since now focused his mind here in the Formula Regional European Championship season. And RPM Motorsport have been in such a rising team as well. They've got some exciting talents this year, obviously the likes of Matteo Capieto who joins them, as well as Santiago Ramos. And all these drivers obviously capable of delivering in such sensitive points in their careers, where they could obviously look to try and galvanise some great performances out of a very well-established championship such as this, as now we see the cars line their way up. And there is Delano Van 't Hoff making his way around, obviously this time, and part of the MP Motorsport contingent too. Alongside that are Victor Bernier and Sami Megatunov, who we saw in our previous group. More and more cars now getting set to go again. We're into the final 10 minutes now of this session. Of course, 15-minute sessions between each group. And, gives them a chance to register their fastest lap. Still Fitzgerald on top. Still, though, plenty of the cars just weaving right and left to get themselves set and get the tyres prepped for some fast runs. No doubt we'll start seeing them. This will be, I would imagine, one of the last laps they do on these sort of preparation laps, should we say, so installation laps, just to get the car up to bill. There is the RPM now making its way down the straight. We now see more and more make their way round this next right, heading down through this Sector 2 section very shortly as well. in towards sector 3. Marcus Amand also going second fastest at this point. Coming into this championship with full of promises, the Frenchman. It's actually French Finn as well, Marcus Amand. It's a very intriguing prospect for this season. Now wait to see what he can do. What can he enlist here this season? Let's just wait and see as we now see the cars now. Flurry on through, 8 minutes and 40 still to go. Martinia Stenshorn has actually gone fastest so far as well with a 141.592. It's not a bad way to start. We now see more and more cars come through as well. Still Fitzgerald second, Amand now down to third. Roman Belinsky in fourth and has already registered an improvement in the first sector as well. In fact, set the fastest first sector of all at 29.7 in that particular sector 2. And he's going to look to do exactly the same again in sector 2. As we wait to see him go around, but immediately taken away this time by Stenshorn, who is already back. Flusha has now gone to the top with a 148.49. Not necessarily representative at this point, but Stenshorn now holding on to the fastest first sector here at this point too. At the moment, we've got more and more cars coming through. Delano Van Hoff now third fastest, 143.3. Again, don't take that into account just yet. There'll be more times flurrying on through. Stenshorn, though, has got the fastest first sector. Further down, we've got more and more cars looking for places. Belinsky now has gone fastest for the 37.224. Now they're starting to become more and more representative. A purple final sector for Belinsky at 28.2. Still to be Joshua Dirksen now to the top with a 137.095. They're cascading downwards, a whole 10 plus there from Micah Belov. Oh, Belov just nearly going 4/10ths quicker, in fact. An incredible time by Micah Belov. And he's going to be absolutely delighted with that. Purple second and third sector for Belov. And Antonelli has just gone fastest in the first sector. Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. second fastest. Stenshorn now to the top as now the cars start to get warmer and warmer. The tyre compound's now getting grippier here in this session. Belov now second. Fittipaldi in third. Dirksen there down in fourth as well. Belinsky, who was showing all the promise earlier on, now dropping down, but he will have more chances here to enlist this purple sectors. Antonelli, though, fresh off the back of achieving a purple first sector, has just gone on to achieve a purple second sector as well. As we now see him live on our screens here, making his way through the third sector now. Could this be brilliance here for Andrea Kimi Antonelli? Can he steal it off Lorenzo Flusha, his teammate here, who holds on to the top time at 136.479, half a tenth faster than Delano Van Hoff at this point as Antonelli looks to get set, because we haven't seen him yet spring on our screens just yet. He's just got to the top. Wow! Nearly 3.5 tenths quicker than that of teammate Lorenzo Flusha in second place. Antonelli at 36.134. A blistering lap here at this point in qualifying. We're within 6 minutes to go here in this session, but a 29.5 in the first sector, 38.5 in the second sector, and a 28 in sector 3. Ramos has now gone second fastest as well, has only got to within nearly 2.5 tenths away from Antonelli. What a time indeed from Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Lorenzo Flusha in third now, with Matteo Capietto in fourth, Delano Van Hoff in fifth as well. Martinia Stenshorn now down to sixth, but leading that rookie contingent here in this session. Lorenzo Flusha, currently seeing on our screens now, just making his way down the straight. Can he find some better improvements and join his teammate up at the top? Obviously, we have got 3 Prema drivers here. Rafael Camara currently sat in 14th place, looking for those improvements too. He set a 29.6 in the first sector, 38.7 in the second sector, but he needs to find a little bit more, because Antonelli has set a 38.5 in that middle sector for now, so he's got a little bit more time to find. But what a time to beat, and still plenty in the tank. Santiago Ramos, though, I'm sure will be delighted with what he's brought to the table for RPM Motorsport. And I'd imagine the team are thrilled too. Puts them in a great position to obviously try and score some points later. Kamara now across the line, goes 6th fastest. So that puts 3 Premas now up into the top 6 here in this session. You see on our screens, there's of course Joshua Dirksen. And, the Paraguayan there sat in 10th. Just behind Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. Of course, the lineage of the Fittipaldi family is legendary, and his father Emerson is certainly here with us as well this weekend. And not to mention they've got appearances currently obviously in the world of F2, F1 as well, and part of the Haas reserve contingent too. So they've got such a hand in motorsport here in today's day and age, and certainly as part of the Formula One feeder series. And Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. looking to write some chapters of his own as well. Very, very pacey. Has already displayed some real top promise so far this season. No doubt will look to improve at such a young age. Martinius Stenshaw now looking to try and find more time. 28.179 in that final sector. Still holds on the 7th. Antonelli though still undisturbed right at the top. Coming down to the final 3.5 minutes of this session now. Santiago Ramos looking for improvements in that first sector. Has found a 29.6. Antonelli not improving this run. 30.2 as things stand. There is your current leader. Should it stay like this, it means that Group A will of course have the fastest average time. It's based off those sheer numbers. We did of course see 36.8 in our previous sector. That was the best time set by Tim Tramnitz, and that was mainly, you could expect, obviously due to that incident that we saw where the red flag would make its way out, as Antonelli sets a 44.5 in that middle sector 2 as well. Still holds on to all 3 purple sectors though. Can anyone stop him at this stage? Can anyone take that spot away from him here in qualifying 2 Group A? That's the big question they've got to ask themselves. Still at 29.643 in the first sector for Ramos, 38.5 in sector 2. So you see more and more cars make their way around now this time. There is of course car number 30, Michael Belov, who certainly was at the top end earlier on as well at the very early goings. Competent driver certainly for his team too. Many of these drivers obviously, despite their young careers, have gone on to do amazing things here in this series. Still Martinius Stenshaw holding on to that lead advantage right now. Antonelli has just set a 29.952 in that first sector, which is approximately 4/10 off his top pace in sector 1. So he is going on a fast run again, potentially perhaps looking to get those tyres alive again for him. So the lap prior was essentially what could only be described as a cool down lap, but let's see what you can enlist in his second sector to see whether he's looking to try and go faster again. I can tell you though that Ramos has dipped into the 29.7s, so he is getting closer to Antonelli's time, but not enough to disturb him. Rafael Camara has improved though in that first sector, 29.691, 38.862, which puts him just in reach of Antonelli, but stays 6th fastest on second, 28.2 in the third sector. So he can't yet find that little bit of added time. Unassailable advantage still so far for Antonelli. So we're now into the final minute here of qualifying. There's the RPM Motorsport team. Looking to come back and alive, but certainly they can be proud of their man, who has certainly delivered here, Santiago Ramos. There's Matteo Capietto, his teammate as well. So currently RPM featuring 2 cars in the top 4 as this stands, certainly here in this group. Obviously they will be divided into their grid placings when of course it's all averaged out at the end of the session, but it looks pretty evident that based on what we're seeing from Antonelli, and not to mention the drivers below him as well, all of them achieving some vastly superior lap times, obviously that being down to the accompaniment of track temperature and also the incident that involved the red flag that would make a major difference. But still, it's been a stellar display, as we now see more and more cars make their way around now. With 5 seconds now to go, the timer is ticking downwards, and now the checkered flag comes out here at the end of the session. So it's a last gasp and last chance to dance, certainly. Martinius Stenshaw looking to try and find improvements too. 29.9 so far in the first sector for Antonelli, but that's no way near his 29.5 that he set on his best lap earlier on as well, that being of course his 4th run. And what a venture as well for Antonelli. I'm sure he'd be looking to try and hook that up into a potential race win. Leventia Ravesh now coming across the line 4th, 14th fastest is where he stays. He will not be improving. More and more cars coming into the pits as well. The likes of Lorenzo Flusha coming in, Mancheo Capietto not crossing the line, neither is Rafael Camara. Antonelli is in as well. Delano Van Hoff crosses the line, goes 5th fastest, stays 5th fastest here at this point. And, he will remain that way, obviously setting a very decent 1:36.528. And still Antonelli up at the top. Michael Belov is still out and about. We've also got Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., who is still in 9th, looking to try and perhaps find some improvements. Joshua Dirksen also stepping into the pits alongside that of Belinsky. Maya Wayug's in the pits, as well as Marcus Armand, Leventi Ravesh, as I said before, coming in. Adam Fitzgerald as well coming into the pit lane. There's now Delano Van Hoff also remains in 5th. Rafael Camara up into the top 6. So we got certainly Prema with 3 drivers all in that top 6, with Antonelli on top, Flusha in 3rd, and Camara in 6th as well. Stenshorn back again in the thick of it, and obviously still currently in 7th, but certainly not out of the question where it comes to achieving raw pace. I mean, if you have a look at the gaps, very minimal, obviously in that mid scrap. It means we could be seeing a really competitive fray when, of course, we hit pedal to the metal here for the first time this weekend, this evening at 6 o'clock local time. But what a stunning lap by Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and it's going to be himself and Tim Tramnitz again on the front row here for this race this evening. And, the cars will now very shortly enter Parc Ferme as we now see them make their way down through the latter stages of the lap. Still a couple of cars that have completed laps, Delano Van Hoff being one of them. You see him on your screen there, folks, representing, of course, MP Motorsport. And I'm sure he can't wait to get himself going towards the end of the session in the top 5 here. And I'm sure he'll be looking to try and convert that into a positive result. Podiums up for grabs here. All that's left this weekend are 2 races. One this evening at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow we come back again as well for yet another one at 10 o'clock as well. Don't miss that, 10:13 to be exact. And don't forget, it's 30 minutes plus 1 lap. That is the format for the races. We take a look at a very busy paddock. The teams now, no doubt, will be looking to grind down and look at their results, try and digest some of the analytics, look back at some of the data, and look at what they can bring to the table later on. But I can tell you this, folks, it's been a pleasure bringing you all the action here in this qualifying session. It's all down now to Antonelli and Tramnitz. They're going to be at the top end when we go racing this evening and, of course, tomorrow as well. But from me, George Morgan, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you later on tonight. Goodbye.